Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Andy, let's talk some recap of Week 4 and a little bit of openers. We've put a bow on the first quarter of the season tonight and tomorrow. Even though there's 17 games now, I still think of the first 4 weeks as the first quarter. But it was a great week. I ended up so last year, and everyone who listens to this podcast, who's been a long-term committed deep diver, knows 2021 regular season kicked my absolute ass. Like just kicked in the balls every fucking week. It was like
over and over.
I got the best of the number. And everything broke against me. So far through 4 weeks, it has been the opposite. I'm getting break after break after break. Like 2021 last year, like the Bills, like not only score a touchdown at the end of the game, but then somehow get a pick 6 to take the game over. You know, like that, like the fact that I'm catching breaks this year is just such a deep. I respect how fucking hard this is and how close these margins are, and things are super, super narrow. And if you're running good in this game, then you owe it to a little bit of positive variance. I know that, but it feels good to through at least 4 weeks have a lot of things breaking in my direction. So with that, let's talk a little bit about these games. Sound good?
Yeah, just 30 seconds on Thursday night. That did
great example.
That is a great example. This is the only thing I'm going to say on this game because it's been rehashed 100 times. We didn't bet Cincinnati -4. I saw 3 or 4 different accounts get mad saying like Cincinnati was never the right side. Like you got a lot of you could make a point like betting Cincinnati -4, -4.5. That probably was a bad idea, but half of the handicap of taking it early was there's a chance. I had it 50-50. Tua doesn't even play.
Yeah.
Same. I said if he does play, it's probably like 20 to 30% chance he takes another whack because it wasn't just
that was a huge part of it. A huge part of the handicap.
There was multiple injuries that were reported. Back, and they said back, leg. I mean, there was 3 or 4 things they said might be wrong with him. So like, I'm getting the Tua thing was fortuitous. That's funny. But at the same time, like it was always part of the deal. So happy to get that one. Since he still looked a little suspect.
They're stuck in mud. They're stuck. They're the rust that I thought was going to get shaken off in this spot because they're going up against a tired D. No. Okay. Major 2 takeaways. Cincinnati's offense is still tough to trust, and Miami's defense is probably they might be really, really good because they went against Allen and they went against Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and then just an absolute horrific spot against the Cincinnati Bengals, and they acquitted themselves well in that third test. So Miami's going to be just fine. That absolutely is a playoff team unless like somehow this Tua investigation, like if that disrupts McDaniel and what he wants to do, then maybe we reevaluate. But McDaniel so far as a coach is, as far as scheme and what everything he's doing on the field, fucking killing it.
We'll get deeper into Miami and how they move forward here, although it might be a Cooper Rush situation. If we're being honest, it's you give him a week to prepare. That's still not a bad quarterback, especially with the weapons you're going to give him. The early morning game, I didn't quite make sense of that. The Minnesota defense was worse than I thought. I think we're going to further have to downgrade this Minnesota defense just based off how bad they looked against backups. Mark Ingram is washed. Latavius Murray was not on a squad last week for a reason. Andy Dalton's been with like 6 teams backing them up for reasons. You got your starting safety back and you still look this bad. Cook was not good. Madison was the better runner, but Cook was dinged up, and Cousins was so. Like, if you don't have Justin Jefferson, I don't know if this offense is doing anything. No. Honestly, it was an ugly performance, and they got the win. I'm not so sure it was a deserved win, but I will congratulate anyone. I saw plenty of people in the Discord got some 2.5s on the Vikings way ahead of the news when they started to kind of feel the way the wind was blowing on that one. So congrats to them, and sorry you guys had to get up early to watch that one.
It shouldn't have been that sweaty. But I mean, thank you to the Saints and the Vikings for giving us early morning, really entertaining football. The second half of that game was it was fun, period. It like this is the no fun league. A lot of times you watching a game is a chore, i.e. Denver, San Francisco last Sunday night. This was not one of those. That game was fun. And the fact that the Minnesota defense let Andy Dalton hang around when he was throwing absolute dead ducks for passes, I mean, that's a problem. They're going to get gashed when they go up against a legit quarterback. Let's move on to the day slate, and let's start with let's go through rotation order here, and we'll start with the Titans-Colts.
Yep, Titans. Didn't watch as much of this as I had hoped to. This is one I'm going to have to dig into a little more, but
here's what I don't understand. You ready for this?
The injuries for the Colts is the takeaway, man.
Well, the injury, yeah, that's the takeaway. But who woke up this morning and walked to the window and said 3.5 for the Colts? That's cheap. Let's fucking go, Colts. Like, I mean, like that was absolutely.
This is my biggest regret from today is like not talking myself into this. I was just I was so down on both teams. I'm like,
Same.
God, there was, and basically it was a wash because I really, really was close to talking myself into Titans and Commanders, which should have washed itself out. But yeah, the Colts listless, and then suffered 2 really, really important injuries that can kind of put a nail in the season, honestly.
Yeah. Looks like Denver's going to lose this game to the Raiders. We'll get there in a second, but that is over. It's over, basically, right? 138. Yeah. 2 timeout. Yeah, it's basically over.
Raiders out of off
Colts.
The
Colts. Sorry, yeah. The Colts took money. There was not a ton of action either way on that total. Close 43. It probably should have gone over. The Colts defense sucks.
Only 7 points in that second half after
maybe people were a hair premature in kind of putting sticking a fork in Derrick Henry. He showed a couple of pop plays with some pop in the first half of that game. Titans defense made some huge takeaways in the second half to keep the Colts at arm's length. But like, again, we talked about it on the podcast. Nothing that happened in that game was going to change my opinion about either of these teams. They both fucking suck. And congratulations to Titans for at least showing up in this spot.
Sucking a little less.
And not quite
the way they've gotten. I'm gonna have to look at the box score here, but they got Henry involved in the passing game a little last week, and it looks like they got him 5 targets again today. Like that little bit of a jump start.
That's a better way to utilize him considering his current skill set.
Yeah, just get him out in space. They did that with a couple of guys. I know Burks was dinged up. I didn't have a follow-up on that injury, but the big injury is obviously Taylor, and again,
Burks he's done for a while.
Yeah, the Burks thing didn't look good. So next up,
Bears-Giants is a game that happened.
Giants was a game I actually watched quite a bit of because this was my prop. Remember my prop play of the week? I said, hey, I don't care what they set. They set the rushing total for Saquon at like 80 something.
He got it by the quarter.
I mean, it was just like, what else are they going to do? I don't understand what else they can do. Like eventually they're gonna have to run Breida because he'll get tired. But that's what I played in that game. So I kind of watched him, and he did have some pop on certain runs where they were able to get him out into like the. I forget my gaps from when I played football like 20 years ago in high school, but just the outside runs and the stuff that wasn't just straight A gap off guard bullshit. Like even some of the inside stuff was good. Daniel Jones ankle, and then
that takes away his biggest strength.
Tyrod Taylor, yeah. When you're the backup, like the announcers even said this. The announcers don't always make poignant. Salient points. I didn't want to say poignant points. That sounds dumb, but they said like, hey, you have to know you're the backup and your starter's already hurt. You can't run the ball and take a helmet collision like that. Like at that point, you don't have any quarterbacks left. What are you doing, buddy? So
direct snap and sack, which would have probably been fine.
Honestly, that wasn't a bad little sequence there when they did the direct snaps. But I don't think I want to upgrade the Giants at all there. But the defense looked good, and then I had to stop and say, okay, Andy, it's the Bears. It's the Bears.
The Bears have a 1950 offense.
Yeah, and again, a lot of that is personnel based.
The Bears got 12 points because they got 4 field goals, and a bunch of those were short fields, right? Or a couple of those.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Bears construct this roster in the offseason.
They got a long way to go.
Yeah, it is.
Giants, do not upgrade the Giants based on that. Good job by the Giants game planning for a one-dimensional offense, I guess. Zach Barkley should have been your rushing leader were it not for Rashad Penny.
Rashad Penny on only 17 carries, which is wild.
Let's talk about one of the more impactful games of the day. And again, another one where like last year this wouldn't have bounced my direction, but it did.
No, the scoring would have kept going.
The Bills and the Ravens played to a draw outside of a goal line stop by the Bills defense and an inability to keep the Bills from getting into field goal range by the Ravens defense. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson looked good in the first half and then just like didn't really look especially comfortable in the second half. There was actually a lot of the game where I felt like he didn't like what he was seeing and what he was being asked to do. So I kind of want to hang a little bit of this on Greg Roman and how he was kind of constructing his offensive philosophy, because it didn't seem like Lamar felt good in that. Yet every time he broke the pocket and he was in the open field, it was like he's going to the house. Like there's no stopping.
Whenever he would roll right hard, like not just like there's two kinds of roll right. There's like a designed roll right, or you're rolling right because of light pressure, or there's like I'm running full speed because someone's behind me roll right. Like I almost worry more about it when he's doing that, because once he's getting near that decision point, that it's almost like a mesh point for an RPO, except you're the running back. Like I have to decide if I'm tucking it or trying to wing it. When he's at that point, he's at such a head of steam already. You feel like if he tucks it down, it's 8 yards. That's your worst case scenario.
It's unfair. It's unfair him in space against a linebacker or safety. It's just not fair. It doesn't matter how good your safeties or linebackers were. The safety for the Bills, Poyer, was the difference in this game, period. He was the most valuable Bill. Made a great play picking off Lamar early and then got him in the end zone. He was incredible in this game. Josh Allen was good. He was solid. He did exactly what you need for him as far as an MVP. Like it wasn't there through the air because the conditions were shit. All his guys were dropping a lot of very catchable balls. It really disrupted the offense overall. But he ran it like when he was like, "Fine, if you guys aren't gonna help, then I'll do it my damn self." And he did. It did it his damn self.
A couple of very impressive runs, especially like breakdown runs.
The game tying touchdown in particular was just like, "Fuck this guy."
And like us as Bills, people we have MVP tickets on them. We've said this preseason. We don't want to see that as much. We don't want to.
On these type of games, yes,
you got to have it against us. You're playing one of the other good teams.
Yes, in a week where the Dolphins lose, you better fucking do that, and you better get that win. And they did it. The fact that he got the first down, but not the touchdown at the end of the game, so that they could kneel, kick the field goal. Like fucking he's playing on another level right now. I absolutely love it. Last quick comment about this game, because I have a lot of thoughts on it. We'll talk about it all week probably, but the Ravens, those fuckers are dirty, dude. They are dirty as hell. They're dirty as hell. Like somebody asked us in one of our chats, like I was listening to the Baltimore XM broadcast, and they were like, Jerome Boger's got a bag on the Bills here. He's just calling everything Bills. I was watching the game and I was like, they could not fucking help themselves, but every fucking time the play was over, twist an ankle, pop a guy on the head, lean into a guy as your tackle. I mean, like it was wild how much they were like kind of playing in the margins and seeing what they could get away with. and I got away with a lot. I did not think the refs had much influence on that game at all. And you could see like Allen would get popped in the head and turn around and be like, no, nothing. I'm not getting protected. Okay, I'm just the fucking MVP. Fine. Like it was pretty wild. But the Ravens defense, those dudes they're kind of nasty. They got a little, yeah. And I'm not saying there's no place for that in football, but like, they may not be the fastest. They're gonna get killed by speed, but like they play with a little bit of the chip on their sholdder. What do you think of that?
I like the old see how much you can get away with. That's classic.
They were doing that.
That's classic Belichick stuff too. Is like, hey, the refs aren't calling. Every game is so different. It's like a strike zone in baseball where it's like, oh, they're letting the defensive backs kind of get a little handsier today than maybe some groups would or some crews would, and all of a sudden you'd see Belichick would just be pushing that. Like it would just keep getting worse and worse until they finally made him call something. And I'm fine with that. So, all right. Chargers game. I did not watch a ton of this either because I had no real stake in this. This was one we talked about. And we said, hey, this team is missing not just a bunch of players, but a bunch of important players. They looked pretty bad against an up and coming team last week in a game where it's hard for them to come from behind, probably at this kind of juncture especially with the injuries, but they're about to play a really, really bad team. And now this is your only remaining team without a win. Now that they got off the schneid for the Raiders, I believe every other team has a win now except for
Texans.
Texans are the early leader for whichever quarterback decides to play good.
Maybe it's time to start evaluating if you want to keep Lovie Smith around.
Yeah, I mean, I think
just saying
it's been long enough. Like he's been in the facility for a while now.
You're the last team without a win.
It's time to start looking at it.
Is the defense regressing? It has to be asked.
Just there's nobody on this roster. It's just such a bad roster. Dameon Pierce had a nice long run that kind of propped up his stat line, 14 for 131, but a lot of that came on a really nice long run. Williams played well. Somebody has to catch the ball though, because a lot of people are still injured for this team. Not a lot of takeaways from there. I'm going to go back and look at some of this to decide where I'm at with the Chargers.
Herbert looked especially sharp, even though his stat line was very impressive.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I need some context to how well they played against a bad team, but a road game coming off a nice little spot, I guess.
The Chargers were well in control of that game, and yet they needed a front door cover. That says everything you need to know about.
To cover. Yeah, that's what we said about the number.
Yeah.
Said we think they win, but this number's in doubt likely. Yeah. I think that's kind of what we ended up on.
Yeah. It's just a weird, gross game all around.
The defensive bowl, or whatever we want to call it. Seattle is not good. This is wild. So
weird game.
Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Swift missing. Hawkinson comes in. Hawkinson, I believe, your leading receiver. I had to defer it again.
Hawkinson was one of the leading receivers across the entire NFL.
Yeah, he had 179. I think that's what I'm saying for the day.
Holy shit.
No, so I had to fill it. I had a receiver missing in fantasy or whatever, and I had Pitts or Hawkinson.
Lazard may catch him.
And I went to Pitts.
Yet.
So
Lazard could catch him here.
Hawkinson, Hawkinson blew up. A lot of people blew up. Penny blew up, and it was just the lowest scoring quarter, 2019. Yeah, was a 19-point quarter.
Amazing.
In this game, it's zero defense for the Lions. That's going to be the story all year. And as this offense get better, these totals are going to continue to creep up. And I don't know how high you can make it when they're playing a team that's susceptible, or honestly a team that can just beat the shit out of a bad team like the Lions early on and maybe, end up with a bunch of garbage time points. It's going to be hard keeping these Lions games under. So not a lot of takeaways from there, though. Goff looked good.
I guess credit to the Seattle offense for going on the road and showing a lot of life. But their defense is not good enough to get a clean win or there's no way this should have been a 3-point margin. Ultimately, if you watch the game, no fucking chance. Pete Carroll only knows how to win close games. Apparently, like he can't win with margin.
Seahawks have never played a normal game.
No, they do not know how to play a normal game. There was the first kind of breakaway Rashad Penny touchdown was so bad. The tackling was so poor. And they cut to the crowd and people are swearing in the crowd. And I'm like, they're cussing out the Detroit defense. Like, that was an embarrassment. Like, there was a guy who took an angle on a tackle and literally dove as hard as he could. And it was like exactly the wrong way. It looked like he was literally
like Tecmo Bowl, where they can only go one of 8 directions.
It looked like a glitch. It looked like a glitch. I was like, holy crap. A lot of the decision making for the Lions was weird. I guess like they fucking play hard. They don't quit.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
That's
a lot
good
of this
team to bet live down 20 points apparently.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If you get them, in a spot, it's like, hey, the Lions are plus 26 live. Probably a spot we're gonna have to bet a lot more going forward.
They do not quit, but they are going to lose some close ones, and I think that's their MO.
Ones.
That's their MO.
Until they can backfill a little more on defense.
They is who they is. No other comments other than Seattle. I might revisit how I rate that offense, just considering how they look today.
Gino kind of looked lively with his legs. Again, it's a really bad defense, but some of the scheme was okay.
Two teams that hit the over, who I will not be revisiting their offense.
The Jets and Pittsburgh.
The Jets and the Steelers. Like, on paper, this was a good game, I guess. Like,
Wilson.
It was exciting. It was a big. Oh my God, he looked horrifically bad, and like everybody in the Jets hive really circled the wagons around him after that game-winning drive. And they were like, it cannot be understated how big it was that he came back 5 of 5 on that final drive. Like, he sucks. Like, he legitimately sucks. And he had some moment. He never should even been in that place if it weren't for Kenny Pickett also maybe really sucking.
And here's where I'm at. Yes, like Kenny Pickett looked pretty bad. He threw up some balls that he shouldn't have. But I do want to give him the benefit of the doubt. And this is on the team. This is the perfect spot to insert him. You have a long stretch. You're not a competitive team by any means. You should know, like, hey, this team we've lost our best player. Mitch Trubisky was never going to be the long-term answer. Everyone said it. Anyone with a brain said it, like, hey, here's a good spot to get him like 10 days of prep for this game. Didn't do it, threw him in the middle. So you fucked up 2 different ways, which is kind of impressive, honestly, for being honest. I don't want to pass judgment on him without seeing him actually prepping with the ones. That said, other than he has a cannon, like that deep ball, that Hail Mary, that fucker flew. But I didn't see a lot of good decision making. I didn't see a lot of the things you saw against ACC defenses. So it just disappointing, but benefit of the doubt because he didn't get to prep.
I will say there was some Jets money that showed day of, which is always interesting. We didn't mention it, but there was some Seahawks money that showed day of too.
That made sense. I mean, after everything, like, just like how are people laying points with the Lions missing their playmakers?
Yeah, but there was Jets money that showed. I would have loved to have been someone who laid that. Been in the room with someone who really laid a big Jets bet and seen them like soak in the first 35 minutes of that game, because it's like, what the hell was I thinking?
What did I bet on? That's not a game you watch.
Long term, it's Pickett from here, probably.
I think so. And I think it was Weingartner, Spreadopedia said he had a tweet basically saying, Kenny Pickett is going to be like plus 250 to be rookie of the year after this game. And it was, it probably hyperbole, but he's going to shoot way up because he's a quarterback who's going to play now, and everyone's going to bet him. The Zappe thing complicates that a little, maybe. I don't know how they feel truthfully about Mac Jones long term, but Zappe wasn't horrible. So all of a sudden we got 2 quarterbacks we're playing. I think we'll kind of put a pin in this till Wednesday, but the rookie of the year market might get a little dicey heading forward, even though I don't truly believe in either of these quarterbacks. And we move on.
Spreadopedia has a dead read.
Jacksonburg and Philly.
Spreadopedia has a dead read on the award market, so I will.
I know that's right. I didn't want to Yeah.
Pickett gets Bills, Tampa, Miami, Philly. His next 4 games.
There's probably a spot where you can bet him later then. When he's hurt.
I think that's fair. Okay.
I said Jacksonburg, which is not a place.
Jacksonburg. The Jags-Eagles game was weird. This was one of my losers today on the Jags, although I did hit an over, which didn't feel warranted. Game went Jags way early. They were up to 14-0, and then it was one-way Eagles traffic from there.
Which is kudos to the Eagles team. There's so many of these teams that we say, like, hey, this is a good team. Unless they fall behind, and they're going to struggle to dig out of holes. Eagles seemed a lot more composed than
you know what I credit that to, Andy.
What's that?
Good coaching.
Yeah, I was gonna say he hasn't been there that long. It's been a couple of years, and it's not like he had
We should recognize him for how great his coaching has been. You know,
so I was just making jokes about your bets, but I do want to say, like, this was
a big one though. Because if Peterson goes in there and beats him, now Peterson,
it's big for Coach of the Year market. Yeah. So this is and it isn't Belichick and Brady. This isn't Andy Reid and now like somebody with 5 years under his belt, Mahomes. This is a really young quarterback and a coach who's only been at it for a couple of years. So impressive against an upstart that came out and punched in the mouth right away, because it was one-way traffic after that. And good job. I mean, they really look good, and they deserve to be your right there with the Bills, top of the power rankings, baby.
The standout performance was by a singular defensive player for Philadelphia. I don't know if you saw this, but Hassan Reddick had 2 unbelievable plays in this game. And it was wet, it was sloppy. You popped Lawrence, you get the fumbles. Like, that was the difference. If Lawrence doesn't fumble those balls, that offense was moving well enough through the air that this was going to be a team with the ball last wins. I think if they replayed this game in a dome or just good weather, it's probably a very even contest. I do not think that the closing price reflected the difference between these teams. The last remaining undefeated is your Philadelphia Eagles. I know some of our friends bet that. I have a little bit of a bet on that, but not as much as I do on them getting the 1 seed. So I'm happy for anyone who has Eagles as last remaining undefeated. That was a big price. Good job, guys.
Yeah. It usually doesn't
1
settle
seed is very good.
It's wild how early that settled this year. Also, you could have last team without a win has settled already, like we said with the Texans. I do want to shout out the Jaguars linebacking core, though, because I'm not sure if I know who, and I don't think I can say the guy's name. Can you do it? Lucan?
Ooh, yeah, he had.
He was a
Oluwakan.
He was for sure he was a Falcon, right? It's that guy, but also Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd is suddenly in on every play. Like, he's a player. So defense is up and coming. Tough draw getting Philly. Philly is very, very good. We will have to see what we're doing with Jacksonville long term. Washington and Dallas.
I don't know who your defensive rookie of the year is, by the way. Lloyd's probably should be.
Lloyd's shooting up.
Petrie for the Texans should probably be considered. Hutchinson was god awful today. But
Hutch needs counting sacks because that defense isn't going to be viewed as good. He's going to need like 12 sacks. And a couple of them have to be like in a primetime game, which basically Hutchinson has to have counting sacks, and a bunch of it has to happen on Thanksgiving where people see it. So yeah, it's gonna be tough for Rashawn Gary to win it. He's
against the Bills on that game, so it's not gonna be that easy.
Rashawn Gary though. Rashawn Gary's having
Gary EPOI is still very live. Yeah, he's having a great season so far.
Cowboys.
5 turnovers for the Jags, and they were still in it.
Yeah,
they had the ball with the chance to tie at the end of the game.
We talked a little Cowboys last week.
Guys. The Jags are for real.
They are. I got 150 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. Still in pocket. I'm fine with that. The Cowboys reside in the NFC. This is what we talked about on Wednesday. We said, like, fuck, the schedule.
Why can't them?
the schedule kind of hashed out nice for them. Like if Dak is being rushed back, but who knows? Maybe this just I'm not a doctor. There's too many assholes on Twitter already that pretend they understand. Like they're always guessing. Like who was it that blew his knee out jogging last week? Remember right at the end of the game? Yeah. Sterling Shepard. Yeah. Somebody right away. He's like with a very decisive tweet. Yeah, this is absolutely like a patellar tendon tear for sure. You can see it right here, and it's like no, it was an ACL. We find out like these people are just guessing. They're guessing for clout. It's dumb.
Andy,
I don't.
If you guess right, you get 50,000 retweets, which just feels
good.
You
get a lot of retweets.
It feels really good when that happens.
It's just a fucking guessing game. So I'm not an injury expert, but if maybe they're not rushing Dak back, maybe he is a fast healer. That is a thing. Maybe the injury wasn't as bad as we thought. And Jesus Christ, if they're gonna have only like one loss when Dak gets back, they're super live to. And it's tough because their division contains the Eagles. They're super live to be the top wild card team. And I mean, if they get healthy at the receiving core, Dak's fine, Pollard's healthy. Got some good defensive players. It's kind of a shitty team if you're, let's say you're the Packers or Vikings, or you're, one of these other teams that's not the Eagles that wins their division. You have to host Dallas on a wild card weekend. That could be a sneaky, nasty wild card team. That said, there's a long ways to go. Didn't impress me today because they played a team that didn't impress anybody. And I mean, they were bad. Like I said, I almost added them just because it seemed like it was a little heavy for a divisional game, but I can't point to anything really that the Commanders did right.
Nope, nothing. I have a ticket on them to finish fourth in the NFC East. How am I looking?
You're looking decent. They are 1-3. Wins through the ball 42 times. 2 of those ended up in the hands of the other team. Your leading target getter was Curtis Samuel. Dotson was hurt. That's a problem. He's been good. Scary Terry had 6 targets, only caught 2 of them. It is a decent defense, and it was a road game, but still, this is
Parsons
probably
didn't do anything.
It's probably time to start looking at other quarterback options.
Hey, speaking of looking at another quarterback, Cooper Rush is playing well.
Yeah, could you trade him after
you kind of have to. So here's the thing.
Not yet.
We're probably still 2 more weeks away from Dak coming back.
I feel like that's right.
Rush him back with the thumb, right?
Yeah.
2 more weeks without him, right?
Yeah.
Those 2 weeks are at Rams, at Eagles. So basically, Rush regresses against 2 very, very much higher degree of difficulty opponents than the 2 you just faced in Giants Commanders, right?
Yeah.
So he comes back to earth. You have an easy. All right, we're home. Lions, Bears, bye. Dak Prescott.
Yep.
Reinserted him October 23rd, right?
That feels fair.
Blind betting against the Cowboys the next 2 weeks is kind of where I'm going.
Not blind betting, but maybe some looks live, or if the numbers
Cowboys catching less than a touchdown against the Rams next week. We don't know what the Rams are doing because they still have to play, but that's going to be one that I'm going to be very, very closely paying attention to that market when it opens.
And again, Dallas was off a short week here, and still.
If they bring Dak early off the thumb injury and he sucks against 2 live teams, and particularly that Eagles game, like if Dak loses to the Eagles because he's not 100% and/or that, you got a problem on your hands if you're Dallas, right? You kind of can't.
And I feel like
right?
they're gonna push. Like
You think they're gonna force?
They're
him?
a bad. The Dallas Cowboys. It is just a bad franchise.
They can't help but
run
make mistakes. Okay. Shit, man, you might be right.
If they rush him back, I'm gonna be so mad. I'm tempted to take some futures on them.
Let's not touch it. Let's not
win
touch
the
it.
NFC or something at a silly price, because I think
they're
they're like the dumb team that ends up it ends up being like Philly-Dallas in the NFC title game, and you're holding a big number on them, and they don't have a shot, but you can hedge out of it by just laying some Philly minus 250. Anyway, Cleveland-Atlanta. Cleveland, up and down game for Cleveland, honestly, and you're missing the heart of your pass rush, including some other pieces of the pass rush. Chubb was great, but again, it was against Atlanta. The strength of their defense is not up front. Chubb was very good. It led me to question some of their decisions in the second half. I think the Browns lost this game more than the Falcons won it.
Oh, yes, they did.
But the Falcons,
very much.
The Falcons still did some things right. And it was a home game. Mariota is never asked to do much. It's mostly, hey, let's run the ball. Someone named Caleb Huntley got 10 carries. Caleb Huntley. That is another piece of this running. I compared them to the Four Horsemen of the 1920s. They're just going to like, hey, we have a bunch of running backs and they're all pretty decent.
Art Smith, man.
Yeah, Art Smith he knows what he has. He's making do with it. Who led the team in receptions?
Oh my God.
The two-way tie.
I remember seeing Mariota only had like 7 completed passes at one point.
Yes. So Zacchaeus and Drake London each had 2 receptions.
London had a third catch, but it got taken off the board because he face masked. I remember seeing that. It was hysterical.
Almost had that third one.
You know what? The Falcons won a weird one, but you know what, Andy? In the grand scheme of things, they were due. They were due for something bouncing in the franchise. The franchise was due.
2 close games in a row now.
I know they were due, man. I will say this though: the over was absolutely thunder cursed. There were at least you know when I started feeling nervous.
The first fourth and goal.
Yes, exactly. The fact that it got to 4th and goal, I was like, huh? And then they went for it, and you're like, oh. So it's going to be one of these kind of games. 10-10. There was another one that happened at the end of the first half. Browns got stumped again. I think there were 800 total yards of offense and only 43 points in this one, which doesn't really check out. And even with all of that, the Browns were at their field goal target line with the chance to at least send it to overtime for 46 points, which at that point, if you have over 46,
a chance.
You feel pretty good. You feel okay. Worst case, you're coming out here with a push. Not to be. The over did not win that one. And I guess
730 some yards. It should have had at least 49 points.
I shouldn't feel that bad because Atlanta only had 139 yards passing.
But they were running it so
They were running so effectively. Like it was a weird game. Some of the officiating was a little weird. That might be an under crew. That might be an under crew. Just if you're handicapping the refs, that's an under crew. Just because the way what they were calling and how they were calling.
The crews like that, the league wants over. So when they have their meetings, they'll talk to them guys like, hey guys, what are we doing here? We don't need that shit. Regardless, Cleveland extra rest off a Thursday night win still can't beat a bottom 10 team. What does that say about where they're at right now? It may not be. This was a win. Like, this is a game they had to have in the scenario we talked about. Like, hey, you have to be at a certain point when Watson gets back if you want to make the playoffs in the AFC. They're probably not going to get to them if they lose games like this. So
plus the Jets game.
Yeah,
this one and the Jets one.
Yeah, they had an absolute chance to be 4-0, and they're 2-2. That is not where we want to be. The late games, we already talked a little about Arizona, Carolina. I made a joke about upgrading Justin Fields, not because he did anything good, but because Baker moves down, and that's how rankings work. Someone has to go up. Baker is talking about like moving on from a quarterback. They don't have really any.
What's he going to play?
Yeah, they don't have options on the roster right now with the
Baker's talking about moving on from quarterback.
No, I'm saying like they need to think about the future at quarterback. But Darnold's injured, and are they the one that has the rookie that's injured?
Yes,
I'm not even sure who the backup is.
Yes, Matt Corral is unavailable.
I mean, Arizona didn't look impressive by any means.
They were awful.
They were,
and they won convincingly.
This was a bad game. Truthfully, and I have Arizona in like 6 teasers, So
work,
it was no doubter for that, but at the same time, the whole game, it felt like they were just on that razor's edge of fucking coughing the ball up or doing something horrible.
Yeah.
Kyler looked bad at times, and
Yes.
they're just getting some of these receivers back into the fold. So, and they will get a really good receiver back here in a couple weeks. So maybe it's a lively offensive team, but defense didn't really impress me despite, keeping down the point total. It's Carolina. You should shut this team out if you're a good defense, I guess. Your backup quarterback is
PJ Walker.
Trace McSorley.
Oh, PJ Walker's Carolina.
I clicked on Arizona for some reason.
What about Strevler? Strevler not on the roster anymore? They got rid of Strevler?
He was a Jet in the preseason, wasn't he? Because I'm sure we bet on some Jets second half.
Oh, you know what? We did. Yes, we definitely did. He was a Jet. Shit, man. Good call. He was a Jet, and he did come through with some points in some second half spots. Week 1 is most memorably for me, at least. Preseason week 1, that is. Yeah. Arizona.
Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask are on roster.
Oh wow!
Behind Tom Brady. How do I keep clicking on the wrong teams?
I don't understand what you're looking at.
The thing is like moving when I'm clicking. Anyway, we're done with this game.
Okay, so yeah, I'm done with the Cardinals too.
Denver,
although actually, you know what? I was complaining about the over being cursed in Atlanta. The under was the get back in that Carolina Arizona game. I had a great under bet. I sold down to 43.5. I had a great price. And there was that late flurry of points. And I was like, no fucking way. This is going over. God damn it. And the missed 2-point conversion was the difference. Arizona getting the I guess, do you get why Matt Rule kicked the onside? Wasn't that a little early for that?
Yeah, some of the decisions in the late games felt very...
Matt Rule made a bunch of decisions in that game, going for it, kicking, that were just literally like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And I think we knew that. I just hope that Houston comes around and moves on from Lovie Smith before Matt Rule gets the pink slip, because it's coming.
Yeah, they're both right there. I don't have a ton to say about Denver, Las Vegas. Denver was taking money. Russ looked pretty good at times, but he's still just not... He's not as dynamic as he has been in the past, and still working his way into the system, I guess. This defense. The most disappointing part about this game was probably the Denver defense. It has been very good, and they just were not getting it done against the Raiders, especially Josh Jacobs. They were kind of letting him have his way on the ground there. Derek Carr picking you apart at times. I was really disappointed in Denver's defense here, because if you get the way this team is rostered, if you get 23 on the road from Russ and the gang, you should be covering that number more often than not. So Dan says the kicker was hurt, apparently. That makes a little more sense. This is what you said. Yeah, your punter should be able to place kick in backup situations. Melvin Gordon not only fumbles too much, but somehow only fumbles in the highest leverage spots possible, like when he's at the goal line or when it's gonna land in the belly of the fastest fucking person on the defense. Like, that guy did nothing to deserve that ball. He was just standing there waiting for the play to be over. The ball, serendipitously, that's not how you say that word, landed in his tummy like that. But then he took off. That was a really good return. He's fast as shit. Like, that was a really big swing for that game. Like, that's how you don't cover a 2.5.
The big swing was the Melvin Gordon fumble.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Melvin Gordon is getting the rock when you have Javonte
4 fumbles already.
They've all.
Now Williams is hurt now.
Williams is hurt now. I know. It's this fucking mess. Denver.
It's a messy team.
Talk about they came out flat. They played with no urgency. Russell Wilson remains like max cringe. Derek Carr wasn't even good in this game. He had 34 pass attempts, only threw for 188 yards. Holy shit.
Hey, Drew.
Yeah.
Have you ever done anything dangerous? Oh, no, wait. No, don't even tell me. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. Dude,
Awful.
As a parent, I'm worried. Like, I'm not worried about my kids finding like rotten.com or pornography or terrible videos. I'm worried about them seeing Russell Wilson's Instagram. Like, Jesus Christ, that guy freaks me out. Either way,
Awful.
While we were starting the show, the Packers did win on a late field goal in overtime. There was not a ton of time left. I think the biggest story there is Bailey Zappe, runaway rookie of the year pick. Oof. They ran the ball a lot. I mean, they didn't ask a ton of him, and he wasn't super prepped. But
I think with the full week of prep, Zappe is live.
He did have a bit of a live arm, and obviously that's what we saw from him in college. He was with a dynamic offense.
That game going over the total is kind of absurd.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll see on what the Hoyer injury brings, but yeah, I don't have a ton to say except for Aaron Rodgers throwing a pick six is unusual, and the fact that his ADOT was a little higher today was probably good. I think it was, at least. I'm gonna have to go back and look if there wasn't a long one that kind of messed with that. There wasn't like a super long pass or a bomb by anybody, was there? A 32-yarder by Lazard was the longest one. I feel like his ADOT's starting to come up. He's going down the field a little more. So
it's a bad offense, though.
And that's it. I'll do a quick sponsor read as I'm opening up the sheet that has that in there, and then we'll pay our bills and start betting on week 5. We got about 15 minutes to make some
Not many lines up yet. We're still
not a
waiting.
lot. They're starting to pop, but yeah, No House Advantage is your sponsor for October and part of September, I guess, or you can play in pick'em contests versus other people and win like $250K. Download the app, choose a contest, select some player props like the Saquon over rushing. That would have been an easy one.
Easy.
Win a bunch of money. Sign up now with the promo code BetSperts at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app.
Nohouseadvantage.com.
At the app stores.
No House Advantage. Is that no spaces, right?
No spaces. You can't have spaces.
No House Advantage.
Well,
no
in
underscores,
no
spaces.
In a URL, you can't have
no
no
House
spaces.
Advantage.
NoHouseAdvantage.com.
No House
NFL,
Advantage.
NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, and NASCAR. And with that, I'm going to head over to bookmaker.eu/sports/football/NFL/NFL and start to look at some of these lines. Bet Online has a lot more up.
Yeah, they take some shots. Let's start with Thursday Night Football, where the loser Colts are taking on the loser Broncos. Fuck both these teams. I hope no one wins. I hope it's a tie. Colts get their second tie of the season. I mean, no jokes aside, like I was hopeful that Denver was going to be able to win this game, and that the Colts were going to look like they looked against Tennessee today, and that we would get Colts on the right side of 3. But if this is 3, this is a complete and total stay away. 43 is a laughable low total, although overs, I feel like overs did pretty well today in general.
Yeah, I honestly think it's slightly high. Just but if Leonard doesn't play, then I'm not touching that. Broncos will probably move the ball, so no bet there. And then real quick, we didn't touch on Monday.
Yeah.
We both
Rams.
I took some Rams plus 1.8. Plus 118 is my average money line price on the Rams.
I have plus 121 average.
I think I bet it on Tuesday. That has come down a little, but I still think anything plus money is a decent bet on the Rams.
I bet it the minute we heard that Trent Williams was out.
Yeah, that's
because that's the angle.
Despite how good
I
believe the San Francisco defense can be, will be, is, and how much of the coaching, the head-to-head between those two coaching has gone the Niners' way, it's still missing a left tackle. With this front 7 for the Rams, it's going to be a bit of a problem for a quarterback who will he certainly will never look as bad as he looked that week. I don't think he could. I think he's hit the floor. I'm not saying he's got
to play 4 quarters without Trent Williams instead of just 2.
I think Shanahan is good enough to scheme around that. and he's going to look okay, but not okay enough to win this game. So we're both on the Rams on Monday night. And then what's your next line that you have up? Giants-Packers?
The Giants-Packers is Packers -7. Total is 42.5. That is going to go down. I would guess that trends towards 41.
We're going to do this.
None of the sharp books are hanging this, which means that the Daniel Jones question is real, that he may not go. If this is Tyrod Taylor versus the Packers, then I think if you bet against the Packers in any way, even took a future on some other team in the North or bet Packers team total under, like, I'm sorry. Like, this is crazy now that they get the Patriots without Mac Jones one week, and then the next week they're welcoming the Giants with a limited Daniel Jones is absolutely crazy. So Tyrod, yeah, I don't know who the Giants quarterback is going to be.
Tyrod Taylor was pretty shook up as well. He did not return to the game. They actually let Mac Jones come back in.
Although
he's in the protocol, baby.
You know what I'm doing if I'm Brian Daboll? Sack under center.
Just full wildcat.
Full wildcat. You saw what the Patriots running attack just did to this light.
I just got a notification that the Giants are bringing in Ronnie Brown as a special offensive assistant this week.
Oh, little wildcat.
I made that up.
Little wildcat. All right. That's
Ronnie Brown callback though.
Be a fun weekend to.
That was a fun game.
Try to
Anyone who got to watch that game live, that was just taken back. Like,
no
my
early
God,
thoughts.
what is happening?
No early thoughts other than if you can get a 42.5, I would play the under.
I agree enough that I'm going to bet that. Like the Packers offense, even when they get a lead, the Packers offense can turn into the slowest show on earth, where they are going to have a 15-play field goal drive. So I'm going to take a little under 42.5. Low Vig has that still for -105. I'm going to get a nice.
I like it.
Hey,
Andy, is this the real line? Is this the real? Sorry,
I got 42.
Is this the real line, or is there a bug on Spank odds? Are the Saints laying 7.5 points at home off a London game against the Seahawks? There's no fucking way that's the correct line.
No, it's not up at either book right now.
Pinnacle, supposedly Pinnacle has Saints -7.5. No fucking way. Why in the world? There's no way. That cannot be correct.
So, and let's just spin off that because I don't have a lineup for that. But the Vikings as well, coming off a London game with no bye, not taking the bye, do go home and play a listless Bears team. But if there was ever a spot for a horrible offense to get right, isn't it Minnesota? Are we taking 7 with the Bears? Because I joke about how bad Fields is. Herbert was good. He found Mooney a few times. The Bears didn't get a lot done, but what makes them 7's a lot? Do you think you see Minnesota money? I don't see who's laying 7 with Minnesota right now against anyone.
Oh my God. I kind of just don't want to bet Bears games.
I'm just sitting here waiting for you to say something positive. I can't do it.
I can't. If you have access to Pinnacle, I guess I would take 7.5 with the Seahawks if that's really actually a bet that they're supposedly writing 5,000 on that. I don't know about that. Total also very, very, very fucking low. 41.5. Both Seattle and I don't know if you saw this, but both Seattle and Detroit independently got above 41.5 today. So apparently the Saints defense is so good that they are going to cover
4.5, 5. It's kind of what the chat's saying. Caesars Will Hill, that's 5. So that's
correct.
That's probably closer. And I'm dangerously close to betting the Bears, but
Spank odds needs to get their shit together.
Well, Don Best was down this morning, so there's no other options.
Okay. 7.5 also for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It ought to be 7.5. I don't mind laying. Okay, so this is the one weird thing about the Jags. So last week was a spot I didn't mind taking the points, even though they were coming off a huge win like that, just because I thought they're still market dogs, like meaningful dogs. And so it's like a young team like that's not gonna be like, oh, we're the shit, we just got a huge win. and like kind of look past their opponent when they're that big of a dog. This one is a little spooky though. Now they're up against the Texans, who do suck. The Jags should win with margin, but they lost to the Texans, I think, twice last year. Totals 44. Chris, Jags are 7. Is that a fair discrepancy between the strength of these teams in your mind? Kind of want to lay 7. I think this goes.
I'm looking at my numbers. Yeah, the fact that it's a cheap 7, I'm going to bet this.
Davis Mills is so bad.
I'm going to bet this strictly because I don't think this number's around later.
No, this is going up. I think
it should go this way. I would have it 8.5. That's what I'm trying to like update sheets as I go here.
That's
getting in low vig, which I mean they're not taking big limits yet, but
44 is probably a little low too.
Minus 106 at low vig for -7.
There's probably going to be garbage time points there. Sorry,
I'm getting a cheap 7. So, yep. Betting all the teams with all the worst teams.
There were no meaningful injuries for the Jags today, right?
I didn't see anything.
Their defense played a lot of snaps. I think I'm going to hit the over a little harder than I'm hitting Jags right now. 44 flat is better.
What do you think about the Jags' run defense? I think it's good enough to kind of stop everything that.
I think it's a little better than the Chargers.
Yeah, you're gonna need some garbage points to get to that over, but I think they're there, especially if it does turn into a bit of a rout, which certainly could, and I certainly hope it does because I just bet that it will. So Jags -7 is a look. Titans-Commanders. What do you make of this one?
Oh god damn! Talk about you skipped way ahead.
Oh, I know. I'm looking at that one. It's been popping out.
No opinion on Bills Steelers at price. No opinion on early number for Bucks Falcons. No opinion on Bears Vikings. Although I get it, like Bears are pass. Titans Commanders. Holy shit! Titans are 3-point favorites on the road.
Road favorite. Burks is now out. Henry's looking better. That defense is not good, and they're coming off not a fraudulent win, but a win against.
This is Commanders. This is a Commanders bet. I can't believe it. I need to sit on this a little bit.
I think if you like Commanders, you probably just like them straight up.
Yeah, I don't really care about lay. I'm not laying -120 for.
That's why I don't think you need to rush to get a expensive.
I think I'm going to bet Commanders money line this week. Oh god, we're already in the part of the season where I hate every bet I'm making.
This is gonna go down to 2.5, and then we're gonna lay like +120 on the Commanders, and it's gonna feel really bad. And that's a game we're just not gonna watch. Browns-Chargers. How about that one?
I kind of want to lay it with the Chargers.
Chargers run defense.
Oh God. Oh, this is an over.
versus a team that the Browns. How many points should the Browns have had today? 28.
Yes. I mean, they gave up 3.5 on the 4th and goal stop. They gave up another 4 on the and a half 1st and goal stop.
All right, so they had 403 total yards.
Yeah, they should have had
27.
27.
That's 27 roughly. Obviously, the red zone being one of.
Let's play that over. I like that over. I'm going to sell it up from 48 to how high are they going to let me go? 50.
I'm seeing where I can get the best price on it.
I'm going to play over 50 at +110. Chargers Brownies. You remember the Chargers Brownies game last week? Oh, this is in Cleveland. This is probably gonna be windy as shit now that I bet the over.
I was gonna say, like, before we rush to bet,
almost certainly it's gonna be.
So I talked to somebody about this too.
I only clicked once, so
we joke about the.
Not gonna hurt that bad.
I made a joke in like one of the golf Discord, I think, about how I don't think I'm in the path of the hurricane, but I'm going to go to the liquor store anyway just to be safe. Half joking, but these hurricanes, so the remnants of the storms, they do hit me. They come up this far. They absolutely you don't get like wind, but you get a big storm system. So it's that time of year. Something could be rolling up through the Great Lakes. I'm still going to bet this.
Dude, we're looking
heavily,
at Indian summer in Cleveland on Sunday. They're calling for 61 degrees, full sun.
Like a 75-degree day this week.
Wind is going to be 10 miles an hour. I really
48,
hope that
48 and a half minus 05 for me.
That's good.
So yeah, the Chargers run defense should probably get sliced and diced a little here, but if the Browns pass rush is still missing pieces, it's hard to take advantage of the Storm Nortons of the world. And the Chargers,
Storm Norton, did he even start or play? I think they pulled the plug on Storm. I think they pulled the plug on Storm Norton.
I think they just said anyone else. Someone on the practice squad pull up. But
anyway.
Either way, it's hard to take advantage of the missing all-pro tackle if your pass rush is also missing. And I don't know, the secondary didn't look great. They gave up a pretty big grip of yards, and Herbert looked fairly healthy. So yeah, hopefully it is not windy as shit here. I'm on some over 48 and a half minus 05. Bengals-Ravens is such a good Sunday night game.
So good.
Finally. Well, I'm happy with the one we're getting right now.
Well, let me ask you, you blew by Cardinals-Eagles.
Oh shit! I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Eagles 5-point road favorites, total 49.
How sick is it to take the Eagles? I mean, the Cardinals here. It's not a good spot for the Eagles. Last undefeated team, big win against the Jaguars. Comeback win. You got Dallas on deck. If there's going to be an early season letdown, I feel like this is it. How does that defense match up against Murray? Murray finally have a good game at home?
I want to dig into this one. I don't have a strong opinion. That number's kind of on spot with my numbers right now.
Okay. Let's put it.
I mean, situationally,
I'm definitely that is Cardinals or pass. I just don't know if I'm going to ultimately back my.
If there's Eagles money and we see like a
we might catch a 6. Yeah, there's no rush. No rush. No rush. There's no rush. There's no rush.
And if it goes the other way, it's a dead 5. I'm not worried about losing the 5.
There's no rush there. Okay. Good call.
Bengals are 3.5-point road dogs.
Yeah.
Heading to
Yeah.
Charm City.
So the big question is, take the 3.5 or wait for the money line.
Both. Why not both? Avocado Girl.
Why not both?
Divisional game. Bengals getting right. How do you feel about the Ravens pass rush? That's kind of the key to like Bengals games right now. It's like, hey, if the pass rush gets home, Burrow's making bad decisions on how long to hold the ball.
Odafe Owe had a couple of moments where he looked like one of the better football players in the NFL today. But then he also had some moments where he couldn't get Josh Allen down.
How's my Bucks teaser looking?
They fumbled the kickoff. Really?
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good. That's not good for anything. Although we make it if there's a shitload of points in the first half, maybe we'll get a good second half under entry. I don't know. Odafe Owe showed some pop. Clay Campbell still very, very good. That secondary though is still very, very slow.
Secondary can absolutely get beat and I struggle. This pains me to say, if we can see a half decent game plan from a bad coach, where they specifically draw up plays to mitigate the pass rush and beat them on the outsides.
Yeah, Mixon's got a great matchup. Hopefully he gets the ball 50 times in this game. Psych.
Stop doing if they can do some stuff that's not that, they can beat the secondary into submission and win this game. If they run Mixon 30 times, they probably don't even cover this number. So
yes,
I mean,
3.5. I think is a bet.
It's tough, but 3.5 is a look, and it looks like Travis Kelce has already scored a touchdown. 45
live total is 53.5.
The nice thing is the Tampa Bay is still inside the teaser number. We can just stop. This is a good final score.
Ooh, I think I did pretty not great in.
All right. I don't know. I don't think there's like a live bet I love right now.
Oh boy. No.
Chiefs -3. So if Chiefs are only -3 at Chris because there's hardly any time decay yet, but 53.5. Nah, whatever. So we'll catch you guys at halftime unless you had anything else, Drew.
I guess Bucks.
I'm gonna go sit quietly in the dark.
Bucks.
Almost betting the Bears.
I mean, the 2-2 Falcons and the 2-2 Bucks for the NFC South division lead next week. How about that? How you feeling, Dan? Producer Dan. Yeah.
Falcons against Brady.
I had a couple of jabs about the Falcons, but I kept them in my pocket because I care about Dan's health and well-being. Yeah.
Liquor time. Yeah, I'm gonna have some redemption. It's pretty good bourbon. Dan doesn't care. The Falcons won. Falcons are a truck right now. So, all right, you guys, if you have any other takes, if you made any bets, leave them in the comments here on the YouTube. If you're on the YouTube, which I know you are, because that's the only place we broadcast except Twitch. How you doing, Rick Daddy 42069? Hit us with a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not. That would help as well. You guys are awesome. The chat was popping today. Some really good takes.
Yeah,
hopefully everybody wins every bet they made for the rest of the week. We'll catch you at halftime, and then we'll see you Monday night for halftime of NFC West battle.
Let's fucking get it.
Oh, Cleveland's up past 49. Should buy back.
I played over 50, so I'm not going to.